Hello, very good afternoon to you once again. This is Dr. Ramsarran, host for Getting It Right for the past several years, with you once again. I was expecting to have some guests today, including Mr. Siraj, who is of course the head of the RPA. But fortunately, or unfortunately, I'd rather say fortunately, he is away in the field working with other party activists. I think it's in New Amsterdam and somewhere in Berbice, but New Amsterdam most likely, on the house-to-house campaign. You know, we'll be discussing it during the upcoming program. Today's program, the PPP has not stepped down its initial high amps that we're putting into the election campaign. Remember, I told you last week and for several past weeks of this program that regardless of the outcome of the CCJ case brought by the PPP, and where Bassett Williams is making himself a total clown, regardless of that outcome, the PPP is in election mode. Elections will have to be held sooner or later. If we have a positive outcome of the CCJ, I said last time and on the previous programs, we will be having early elections. But even if we don't, we're not downhearted or downtrodden. We know that elections are in the air, and therefore we are prepared. And many flyers, the flyers of this nature has been coming out here, operated from time to time. We'll pull up various aspects of it. And this, of course, is what Mr. Siraj and company are out in the field passing out. And I think we're doing New Amsterdam. We've almost probably completed totally Georgetown, except for a few niches. And what I'm referring to is the house-to-house campaigns, where your party activists and party supporters, PPP activists and supporters, have been coming for the past 3 months to your community, knocking on your doors, ringing the bells and so on, and saying hi, and bringing out, of course, the PPP's position on one part of one sheet, one face of the sheet. The track record, the dismal track record of corruption. You've seen it on the topic line there. The confusion and corruption in the cabinet. In the cabinet, of course, led by Granger, Nagamutu, and Ramjatan. Okay, the coalition, the AFC, PNC, APNU coalition is in confusion and corruption. And we've seen more and more coming out. And what I wanted to bring to your attention is how that is being highlighted in the newspaper or the Weekend Mirror, which is closely associated with the views of the People's Progressive Party. Last week we looked at it, and this week it's even more sordid, more downheartening. The corruption that is there is being proven, and not only the corruption, but it's causing confusion and some degree of inertia. For example, who will be what minister? The latest one coming out now is the confusion between Nagamutu, who wants a party to go back as prime minister, and next big chibat in the coalition from the PNC side, from the APNU side, who wants to be the prime minister too. Because of the recent changes, for example, Harman, we're told, is part of that collapse, that implosion, because he wants to be something and Nagamutu wants to continue being the same thing, that is the prime minister. So as we said, and as we've been predicting correctly, we have our fingers on the pulse beat, we're putting up the right diagnosis. The cabinet is in confusion. The cabinet changes shows those, right? They're putting people to do things, ministers to do things, and creating new institutions within the government, and putting people to head them who don't know a thing about those things. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Hello. Okay, well, we'll be opening the lines in about 15 to 20 minutes, but let's get in the major things to give you some guidance. We're looking at the CCJ case, and of course we're reminding you of this little card that your party members and group members and supporters are bringing around, inviting you to support the PPP for one country, one people, one future. A greater Guyana for all begins with you. So the party is coming out for the past several months, quietly, dressed in their red T-shirts and bringing around the flyer, major flyer. This is the second iteration of the flyer, and of course it says, and the operator will be bringing it up to help you, track record. And this is what we're basing our ongoing campaign on now, and then we will be on the back page of it. You'll be seeing what we suggest and what we propose to you in contrast to the PNC. This is about the track record. Since taking office, the APNU AFC cabal has put forward 5 budgets. They have spent 1.3 trillion. They have borrowed 900 million, and that's US. And they have increased taxes by approximately 88 billion per annum. Every year, Guyanese, since this new government took over, is paying 88 billion more in tax. Not millions, billions, starting with B. They, that is the coalition, are spending every year approximately 1.6 more for food allowances. And what I'm referring to is food for the internal ministries and for when they're having meetings and workshops and so on. And cabinet, of course, the cabinet meals for every meeting they have during the week, the weekly meetings. 1.6 billion more of your money going to make these fat cats even physically fatter, fattening them up for them to sit heavier in their chairs. They're also using up, since they came to office, more than 1.1 billion, not million, billion more for rentals, renting houses, for example. I referred to the last time today, the renting of the house for brooms. Right? Remember, she wanted not to live in the house she was living in, but in another one. 1.2 billion more, billion, not million, billion, billion, more for local travel and other things. Local travel means going to the hinterland. Recently, several ministers were simultaneously in Lethem and in Region 9 doing party work on your taxpayer dollars. And this is all part of their extravagant lifestyle. It's right there in the first paragraph on the track record. Meanwhile, in the meantime, while that is happening, while they're sucking up these resources, while these fat cats are getting fatter, meanwhile, over 30,000 Guyanese have lost their jobs in the sugar industry. The Amerindian officers, young people who are officers, acting as links between the ministry, the government, Ministry of Amerindian Indigenous Affairs, the government of the PPPC, and the communities. 30,000 have lost their jobs, including that set of about 1,900 and something. The cost of living has skyrocketed. That's the paragraph at the top on the track record, the last line. The cost of living has skyrocketed, and health care, education, quality of life have deteriorated rapidly. You remember the issue with Volga Lawrence? You know? She had an arrangement where they were procuring medications and supplies for the hospital, and it didn't go through the correct process. It didn't go through the correct bidding process or procurement process. And of course, we continue with endless shortages of medications. So I like you to refer to that document, and I'd like you to actively seek it out. Get a copy from your activists. Right now in Amsterdam, in Breimanzerven, in the going up Stanley Town, there's a massive campaign. I'm told that we have several senior party men there, including, of course, one of the most recent addition to the Central Committee, Mr. Anand Prasad, who is physically in the field doing a job and helping the local people in Berbice. We have about 80 people today, went up from Georgetown and other parts of Berbice, Georgetown, New Amsterdam, the Quarantine and Kanji, came together and started off from Freedom House in New Amsterdam. And there's fanning out in New Amsterdam, house to house, meeting you. And you will see they will be bringing around the mirror too. It's time you see the mirror, this weekend mirror, you'll see the headlines. There's only 4 years of this new PNC, APNU AFC government, the coalition of Granger, Nagamutu, and Ramjatan. And here it's saying on the page of this weekend's mirror, APNU and AFC coalition ensconced in a vortex of inefficiency, corruption. That's what Dr. Bheri is saying. Another headline, once the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, upholds vote on no confidence motion as valid, elections should be ordered in the shortest time possible. That's what lead commentators are saying. That's why we're saying we are prepared. PPPC is prepared for elections, whether they are sanctioned by the CCJ decision for early elections, or whether they go down to the timeline that was expected before. That is the 5-year term. Then there's a very interesting one. You see there in yellow. Foreign company calls on High Court to have Jordan face trial. I'm not going to give you a sneak preview. Get your copy of the Mirror and you'll see that the newspaper on page 20 of this weekend's Mirror is actually saying that there's high corruption. And this is not what the PPP is saying, but this is what it's actually there on page 20. Right? It says, foreign company calls on High Court to have Jordan face jail time. And I'm not being libelous. It's in a newspaper that is a national newspaper, and I'm reading from that newspaper this weekend, Mirror. Trinidad construction company Dipcon is calling on the courts to have Finance Minister Winston Jordan face jail time over his failure to honor a 2015 judgment. In other words, in 2015, a judgment was made, and they're calling for some action on it. So things are happening, things are progressing, and more forces and companies are coming to understand that this, you've seen it there, foreign company calls on High Court to have Jordan face trial. And so the operator is doing such a great job. Look how clear it is. Look how clearly printed is the Mirror newspaper, and that you should be able to get your copies now. Especially if you're picking me up in Amsterdam, the teams are visiting you in Amsterdam, Breimanzorven, Angers Avenue, and so on and so forth, Stanleytown. See that you get your copy of the flyer and, of course, the copy of the Mirror newspaper from which the article on your screen is taken. The operator is doing a great job, thank you. And it's clearly printed there in this weekend's Mirror. Now, we get back to the main topic, confusion in the coalition cabinet. We've seen where, for example, new positions are being created for the big chibats. Remember when just in the run-up to the elections, Nagamutu and company were saying that the PPPC are big, what do you call it, fat cats. They have fat salaries. But they didn't reduce those salaries to a more moderate level when they came in office. What they did instead, Nagamutu and company, including Ramjatan, they took an increase. In some cases, as much as 100%, between 50% and 100% increase in their salaries. So, what exactly are we having? That's why there's a corruption accusation, but that's why more so there's a confusion part of it, because everybody in the cabinet and in the higher echelons of the coalition seem to be wanting to create conditions where they get better and better facilities. Look at another article from the said newspaper, the Mirror newspaper of this weekend. Another position is being created when the same coalition came to you and fooled you at the election campaign, the last election campaign, that they have to cut government. In other words, look at the difference now. Read this paper, read what it's saying there. It's saying clearly that one of the big chibats, one of the big leading bureaucrats in the PNC APNU AFC coalition is providing for himself to accommodate more additions to the cabinet and to the government while not losing a single penny, and in some cases probably even getting high. And I read it along, read it there. It's in the Mirror newspaper, and those are some of the things that we want you to discuss as we get on with the program. And remember, I'll be here in the studios long after the program is off of the air. We will be there looking at it, and this is one of the things that you might want to look at. The big shibats in the PNC APNU coalition, creating new positions, new ministries, new structures, so that they can continue getting their big salaries while at the same time accommodating more and more of their leadership cadre to get lots of salaries, lots of perks, and of course the rental of houses. Now, if you look back at the flyer that is being shared, being passed out today, there's another aspect of it, the little yellow band there, corruption. For the first time, Guyana was cited for government corruption as a source of money laundering in the 2018 International Narcotics Control Strategy Report. Currently, the APNU AFC is mired in over 50 corruption scandals, including, I want to remind you, it's there on your screen, including Durban Park, where they have so far unaccounted for 600 million Guyana dollars, a house rental in Sussex Street to store drugs for 227 million. They cannot account for that. There's a building, an inappropriate building being rented from one of their cronies, and it's of course located in Sussex Street. It's costing us so far $327 million. But what's being stored there, what's the transaction, what's the contract, is still mired in darkness. The Demerara Bridge feasibility study, illegally done at a cost of $148 million, and is now the subject of a SOCU investigation. The Special Organized Crime Unit is having to investigate that. The Auditor General and the Public Procurement Commission have said that the Health Ministry has illegally spent billions on drugs and medical supplies. Imagine that. And that ministry is headed by one of the big chibats, one of the big players in the cabinet and in the PNC. As a matter of fact, we're told from the latest intelligence I have that this is one of the sources of the confusion in the cabinet, because you have, for example, this lady who's the center of this investigation for the illegal procurement or incorrect procurement of medications for millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. She's part of the big struggle in the PNC cabinet for higher heights, and I'm told there's some conflict between this goodly lady who did this procurement, who authorized this procurement, and people like Joe Harmon. So there's confusion and backbiting in the ministry, and in the cabinet, and in the leadership of the PNC, and let's see how that turns out. But that follows my headline here: corruption and confusion. Corruption and confusion. Everybody seem to be uncertain of their future at the next elections, so they're all fighting to get something now. Okay. So we are on the corruption. We are reading to you: the Auditor General and the Public Procurement Commission have said that the Health Ministry has illegally spent billions on drugs and medical supplies. That, of course, in that ministry at the time had two ministers, a senior minister and a junior minister. We now told that the junior minister, Dr. Cummins, who is more probably qualified to be in the area of health, has been shifted to foreign affairs. Okay, so each one is understanding or sending a claim that I am big. Why am I just a junior minister? I am big. Why am I get in second place? So Dr. Cummins has been promoted to a very important ministry. I don't know what she knows about that area. I would have rather, even knowing her competencies and incompetencies, would have thought better to have her in the health sector, or as an advisor on health in the cabinet, even if she is not minister. But those are some of the strange things that are going on: the confusion, the corruption, the fighting, the inner struggle, and various sections of the PNC are aligning against each other and jockeying for the good things of life for themselves. Harmon in one corner, Walter Lawrence in another corner, and here we're seeing two new ministries being created. Most likely that is to pacify persons who are being shifted out. For example, Patterson was moved out, and she was awarded another something. Hello? Okay, we missed that one. So we'll open the lines as soon as possible, and at the same time we are inviting you to join or at least engage the hundreds of PPP groups that are working right now in your community. Hello? Okay, well, we got to be careful of that. Sometimes people call in to tie up the lines. Well, so we don't have, for example, we can't read your numbers. This isn't not program for that. So we hope that those people who want to make a positive contribution will come through early, and we'll be able to fight those persons who are trying to tie up the time of the program. Hello? Okay, so, and then of course you can come through on my cell phone. The number there is on the screen. So we are witnessing more and more confirmation of my diagnosis. The cabinet is in confusion, the cabinet is in chaos, and there are various little subsections in the PNC and APNU AFC struggling. The main one of the main additions to that's coming to light, that we suspected and commented on, but we even firmer in our belief that we're correct, is the struggle for the prime ministership. There it is, Naga Mutu. Naga wants to have that to continue being the prime ministerial candidate, and we heard that because of the new changes, people being moved out to certain places like Harmon and like, for example, Dr. Cummins, it creates certain discomfort among themselves. So one is fighting to be prime minister, and somebody who's being displaced from one big fancy fat cat position is also wanting to be there. So there's a head-on collision. Hello?
It's clear that the PPP already won.
Thank you for coming
the
through.
Chairman.
Right, thank you for coming through. But could you lower your volume a wee bit, please?
Yeah,
okay, go right ahead.
It's clear that from the submissions that PPP already won the chairman appeal of GCOM.
Okay, you mean
so what will happen? We need to have a new chairman, or are we going to election with the same chairman?
Well, what do you think if the case is won? Isn't that logical?
Well, I think we should go with it, because if we can find a new one, it will take more time.
But if you go along with him, you will be encouraged. You will actually be contributing to breaking the outcome of the case.
Yeah, then I will keep the election till
No. We need to find ways of making that happen. You're right. That's what we're doing. You're correct in that regard. How do we fight to stop that? Because I remember in 1990, the elections were supposed to be held in December 1990. They presented a flawed list, and Chetty said, okay, we've been in the opposition for 28 years, we can take a few more months. And we ended up giving them 2 years, but we got a better list, and we won in 92. Okay, so the party has strategies that we can work on, and of course now the international observers and the international courts are seeing the true color, the true nature of this coalition, right? So that's a good way to start it. What do we do if we win and they start to use MAD, maximum administrative procedures, maximum administrative delay, to push the election? Remember, for the older folk, and the older folk can tell the young people, in 1990, the elections were supposed to be held in 1990. Constitution in June 1990, but the list was so flawed by the corrupt the Elections Commission that Cherry and the PPP said, okay, we'll give you some time more. We've been in the opposition 28 years. So we were thinking it would be a few months. It ended up being 2 years. But we had a good outcome in 1992. Hello?
You good?
Hello?
Yeah.
Go right ahead. You're on to Getting It Right?
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't seem ready to be coming through there. So you glance in there. The operator has put up for your benefit the flyer that is the PPP is bringing out, and he'll show you again. Be bringing out certain other pages. I wonder if you can bring up the front page of the Mirror newspaper, which is very germane to what's going on. The coalition is mixed up in a vortex, in a cauldron of inefficiency, corruption. That's what Jagdeo is saying. Every Thursday, Dr. Jagdeo has a press conference, and it comes out in full in the weekend. So here it is, we're saying, if they're more and more exposed, not only at the CCJ is there confusion, not only at the CCJ is Ambassador Williams making himself a clown and may have to be put down, and by so doing embarrassing Guyana, but right here in Guyana too, on the local scene, they're fighting among themselves. Hello? Okay, we seem to be missing that. The operator will try to get us again. But here it is. You need to get your newspaper, the Mirror newspaper, either from the teams that are now visiting. Practically, we are almost covered the entire Georgetown, except for a few small communities in South Georgetown. And you need to get, right now the emphasis is on New Amsterdam, including Vermont Zervin, including Stanleytown, and of course the Angais Avenue. And your teams are there right now. I want to thank the persons who are there right now, the PPPC people, some of who traveled from Georgetown, some of who traveled from other parts of Borbis, like Kanji, and so on and so forth. May is doing a very good job. And of course, that Borbis effort is being led by none other than Mr. Anand Persad. Anand Persad is the newest addition to the Central Committee of the People's Progressive Party. He is a big wig as it is in this campaign in Borbis, and he's doing a great job. Let's take this call. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming through. You're on to Getting It Right.
So get a Mirror paper, and it seems that this area nobody's coming around in the Better Hope area. I think the guy died that used to.
Yes, you see that's an unfortunate thing we had, and I've written to the party about it. That we need, because he was not only responsible for the Mirror, but he was the mainstay of the party, right? If you want, right, after, not now, and don't give your address away, you can call me back after the thing, and we will see what we can do, right? Because he was a stalwart. He's been there for years, and I was at a week.
No, I can't pick that up. But
no, not you, but you can. Okay. You can give us advice, for example.
Yeah, because we got a lot of people in the area that used to support it.
Yeah, I know that. That's why we're looking at it. But every citizen can help us. For example, they might not be able to replace him, but they might be able to do some of his work, so like a paper boy, right? And he gets a little commission on it. Okay. So I'm happy that you bring that through, and that was a big loss for us when that comrade died, right? So we're looking at ways of replacing, not you, but you might know, for example, the other agents with other papers, they might now see that they can take it over. Okay? Okay. So I hope to hear you afterwards. I'll be here 2 hours after the program, and you can give us some other directions and guide us and tell us where we were doing things wrong in your area, the party I mean. Okay? Thanks for coming through. That was a very positive. This shows that the people are linked with the party. The party unfortunately lost a comrade in that area, the Better Hope area, who was doing so much work for the past decades. He was like the mainstay, like the grease in the machine, like the gas in the engine, pushing things. So we like to celebrate his life and works by having it continued. He was, of course, responsible for passing around the Mirror, and of course all other, like the flyers, like even up to the very few days before his death, the flyers. So we want to honor him by continuing that good work, grassroots works. Hello, you're on to Getting It Right.
Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to find out something. If the present administration is calling for a host registration now, before the election, it will disenfranchise a lot of people. I want to find out something. If your name is on the list and you have to go and vote, let's take, for instance, Asian outside, and they are doing household registration, I'm not told they will take off my name. Now when I come back, once my name is on the list and I go with my ID card, I'm supposed to be voting.
Yes, that's one. And secondly, you can do some other wickedness can happen. You can challenge it if you can prove you're alive when you're there, and then that would hold up the elections more. So it's a wickedness. Listen to this well. A few years ago, when you had time, the party had called for that. Okay, the party had called for that. But then the PNC denied it. Now they're saying that there are many dead people on the list. What the PPP is saying, and the good, sensible people, is let's have a desktop evaluation. Get from the GPO, Guyana Post Office building,
Exactly.
there's an office called Debts and Boards Register. If you get all of those and you sit down with a whole big computer team, several computers, you could then clear up the list. Because
Exactly.
this list, and you agree with me, this current list was not opposed by the PNC for the last elections a few months ago, a year or so ago, for the local government. And the same day people were there, but none of them came forward and voted. No party, not even the PNC, APNO, EFC, criticized it. And we won those elections. So we're saying now that we have some time. You can't go and do the big thing house to house. You had your chance, the PPP raised it, but now we are constructive. We're not only making suggestions, we're giving answers, we're giving ways out. You need to sit now and do that desktop evaluation. Okay?
Yeah, because what I'm saying is, like, if they do this household registration, it will frustrate the whole process and they will delay the election.
But that's what they want. Like I was just telling the audience, in 1992, remember the elections were supposed to be held in 1990. Chedi, being in the opposition for 28 or more years, said, okay, we've been getting beaten and cheated and pushed around for so many years, right? We will definitely now say, take a few more months and correct the list. Of course, they stretched that to 2 years, and instead in 1990, later 1991, it went to 92. But what happened? We had a better list. There's so many ways of scrubbing the list. If people are dead on the list, you have to have a death certificate printed and sent to you, or you're going to collect within 7 to 10 days. That's the law. So 99% of the dead people would already be known, and they can be taken off legitimately. But you can't take off somebody because he's overseas. What joke is that? What about the students overseas? What about the students overseas? What about diplomats who used to live overseas and might have now not in the service, but they're still staying overseas? What about people who are visiting for weddings and so on, right? Okay, we're getting this is the fourth call on the cell phone. Let's take it. Hello? Go right ahead. Could you lower your television, please? Okay. Please lower your television as you come on. The operator is frantically waving to me that is making a bad screeching sound. Hello?
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Ramsarran. You know, I have always been proud to be a Guyanese, right? But most recently, what happened at CCJ, I think those judges are probably laughing at us Guyanese, right? The way the government wanted it, it's either for them to hold on to power and to wealth, and they did a lot of stupid things.
I'll tell you this, right? They're not laughing at Guyanese, they're laughing at Basil Williams.
Okay, what about me?
I know what you mean, but then we're laughing at Guyanese. How you get this man
there? They did a lot
there?
of stupid things to retain power and wealth, and meanwhile embarrassing themselves, right? Now it tells you about the poor quality of the judges and the magistrates we have in this country. That's why you have a man peeping all over bread, getting 3 years, and a man smoking up and carrying a whole lot of cocaine, getting 5 days and all of that. They need to pull themselves up. It's so embarrassing. I'm so ashamed of what's going on, and I'm so ashamed to be a Guyanese. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that call. Hello, you're on to Getting It Right. Dr. Ramsarran here. Go right ahead.
Yes, I am just making a letter of complaint. We are now getting circulation of mirror in Crane Phase 2 housing scheme.
Crane.
Crane, yes.
Okay, well, I'll see. I'll make a note.
Yes, do that.
No, I can't see your number, so I'm going to depend on you calling me back. Mirror, right? And I will probably try to lead a camp. I know presidential candidate Irfan Ali lives over there, so I'll see if he can do something, but I'm willing to come. What you can do in the meantime, right, to help, if you have anybody you know wants to sell it, right, they get, I think it's $25 or $30 per paper, you can let us know. Look around.
Well, there's a counselor here in the shop.
All right. Well, don't call names and so on. I don't want to offend anybody, but we can look into it, right? And afterwards, call me back, and I will return your call, right? But that's good. You see, the Mirror newspaper is so very well put together now, and the man behind the camera there will be showing you different aspects of it that people are now saying yes, they want it. There it is. We have people already calling from, I think it's Better Hope, and now Crane. So we were looking for people who can come forward and help us push the news. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Thank you for calling. Could you lower the volume of your television?
No, me the television,
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I hearing a lot of comments about the government and about the opposition leader and all kind of thing. People saying that they was embarrassed and all kind of thing with how the government operated. You understand me?
You mean with the case of the CCJ?
Yes.
Well, they're talking particularly about Basil Williams.
Yes.
They're saying he isn't proven to be a good liar at all.
No, I was embarrassed about what Basil Williams attacked yesterday because the case them that Basil Williams, the thing that Basil Williams attacked, he make no merit.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they were talking about usurpers. This is a new terminology you got to think about. Usurpers, that Charan Das was a usurper, right? And if you read this Weekend Mirror, you should try to get a copy. There will be some probably available at Freedom House and so on now, right? Our Michael Ford bookstore. Usurper, they're calling these people, they're calling Charan Das a usurper. Therefore, somebody in the mirror is saying, well, wasn't he, why this usurper? Why are you criticizing people and demeaning them? Wasn't he a usurper when he was voting for the coalition budgets? Wasn't he a usurper when you were voting against the PPP budgets? Progressive budgets were cut. For example, the specialty hospital in Lilindale. Nagamutu was doing like this, clipping, showing your fingers, right, like a scissors. He and Ramjatan. They were cutting our budget and they cut out a massive hospital. Right? So those are these.
Let me watch at this in my aspect. Listen this. Put the PPP, put this government, both of them are to be blamed with a lot of things in them time and in this government time.
Okay, but we got to be able not to talk in abstract. What do you mean? For example, the specialty hospital. Nobody can blame us for that. The outreach of 1,000 Go ahead.
I just hear a caller calling and say people get in jail and the magistrate them. That happening since in PB time. I could remember this chap, they shoot his friend 12 times and go in the court and walk out and drive a return a motorbike. That's really embarrassing.
No, wait. But I think you're misquoting the operator. Bring up another slide just now. You're misquoting what that person was saying. We should not say that any part, wherever it is unjustified. And by now, this government had enough time, if they thought those approaches were bad under the PPP, to actually correct them. But instead, you have Basil Williams spending a lot of money for us to go and fight at the CCJ to show that 32 is bigger than 33. Okay? So that's another good call, and I see we've missed some on the landline. So and the next point. The Mirror newspaper is now, of course, very popular. We should try to get yours. When the weekend is over, you might still have a possibility of getting your precious copy at the Michael Ford bookstore or at the security desk at Freedom House in Robb Street or New Amsterdam. Right now, there's a massive team being led by May, one of the young ladies who are now showing some great promise, and Mr. Anand Prasad in New Amsterdam area, and they will be having their copies. And of course, you can call me in or call Freedom House on the number 2272092095, and you can volunteer to start being a vendor. The vendor, of course, will get a certain compensation out of the price of the Mirror. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm looking at your program, and I hear you talking about Basil Williams. But one mistake this government made is not jail here because the amount of corruption and thief he did, he also appears to be in prison.
All right. Well, he made the point, and let me tell you this. You can jail people if you prove them 3 years already. Enough money spent, even on SOKU. SOKU itself is proven to be finding the wrath of the AG, the Accountant General, one Mr. Sharma, no particular friend of the PPP. SOKU, which supposed to be investigating criminal activity, has so far not been able to bring anybody, to lock up anybody under the PPP, except they got a few people from the Rights Board who they said the main problem they did not enter a transaction into a ledger, although all of the money was deposited correctly. So that man is a bit goofy, right, if he's saying that the PPP should have been jailed. Arthur, I was a Minister of Health. Women thief. Wait there. Challenging them. Now look at what's going on under the present ministry. How much, the first thing they did, procurement, give it to the friends. Suddenly they got confusion. The junior minister, because of the fight up among themselves, turned Minister of Home Affairs. A doctor who know nothing about overseas except traveling, got doctor. Sheer confusion. So I would like to be not rude, but I want to chuck it crude to that person who with the PPP sometimes being too liberal and too nice. Who PPP people you want to lock up? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Where is the evidence? And what you're doing, you're wasting money for political purposes. What's happening with Soku? That's what that fellow who just came through might want to be telling you when he calls back. What is happening with Soku? What's happening with the procurement aspect? What was happening recently with the procurement at the GCOM head office itself? The PPP don't control that procurement. Even when we were in office, we did not control procurement of these agencies. What's happening? Those are things that we should be looking at. Hello? Hello, go right ahead. You're on to getting it right. Okay, we seem to have missed that. And we missed some cell calls too. So remember, you have my cell phone is on too, and I'll be here at as much as 2 hours after the program to take the calls who you might want to give some private calls and not bring it onto the screen, or you might have missed me and would want to come through up to 2 hours after. Those are sometimes the best calls I have. Hello, getting it right?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think one of the things you should really think about doing is trying to get this country together. All we are doing like a dog and a cat. You, when you went in power, you do accept the stupidness. Accept this nonsense you do.
All right, well, we hear a gentleman talking the same thing. We're going to chuck it crude. Set of nonsense. It takes up time. What is a set of nonsense? Probably didn't understand. Was trying to build a specialty hospital a set of nonsense? Was expanding the airport to include 8 more ports, 8 more places where many aircraft can come a corrupt deal? Was it wrong? Those are specific things I want you, the sensible people out there, to match. Who fought against the hospital? Ramjatan and Nagamutu. As a matter of fact, if the operator brings me back on screen, I'll show you what Nagamutu used to be doing. In Parliament, he doing like this, cut, and skinning his teeth over on when they were on the opposition, meant cut. So they're cutting out a hospital, which the Indian government was helping us build at a low cost. The money we got to build it was, and then it would have become a specialty hospital, and we would not have been having to send people overseas. Who cut that? Ramjatan and especially Nagamutu. This is what Nagamutu used to be doing. Skinning his teeth and doing this. I cut in the budget. Okay? So those are things, and what the mistake the PPP might have made is not being aggressive and brutal enough in its attack on these things. You understand? So when he's saying we do stupidness, well, that stupidness was stupidness. The airport. Now, sheer corruption there. A smaller project costing the same money. In other words, instead of having 8 to 10 landing ports for where aircraft from overseas can simultaneously be landing passengers and taking on passengers, you now having, I think it's 2 or 3 for the same amount of money. Isn't that, those are things that these people without conscience calling attacking the PPP should be doing. What are the mistakes we made? Sending people to Cuba, 1,000 people. I was there when Castro and Jagdeo had the meeting, and some other, including Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh. He was not minister then, he was head of budget. He was taken on that trip, and we negotiated for hours, sometimes 10, 15 hours a day, and Fidel Castro was there, very energetic as an older man, knowing practically all the data at his fingertips, and we got 1,000 students trained. Those are the things, and whenever you do such big things, there must be 1 or 2 little mistakes. How are we managing, for example, the doctors who came back? Well, where are they? Those are things we got to look at now. Why are we having drug shortages at the Diamond Hospital, which came out of that program with Fidel? Why are we having problems in Letem at the hospital? Those are things. So we're going to chuck it crude now. The PPP would not have made mistakes, and deliberately you make mistakes when you do big projects. You might not have the right person in the right place, or somebody might be. For example, some of the doctors that we train, unfortunately, were not only doing doctor work. Because of the weakness of the structures, they were being called upon to do managerial work, and they're not managers. So we introduced the MPH, Masters in Public Health, at the University of Guyana, where some doctors or people who are inclined to the medical field, but not doctors, could be trained as health managers. So those are some of the great things we did. Okay? Hello? Could you speak up a wee little bit?
Hi, good afternoon.
Take out because if you have an artificial heart valve.
There are 5 judges that got a passive verdict at the CCJ. So how are they going to do it? Are they going to divide it in half? You get 2.5, and then you add the other half, and then you plus 1 to come to a judgment.
You know, I haven't thought on that. I'm not too learned in that. So, but I realize how.
Political math.
Yeah, I know that. I realize now how the
And
nonsense
children
that.
how to do this math.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't. We can try to open to the public out there and let them have. But it's a good point, right? Because nobody was thinking that 32 was greater than 33 or equal to 33 before Basil Williams raised his strip in Guyana, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I would really want to know if they're going to divide it in half. Get 2.5 plus half plus 1.
Well, I don't think the people have people of, in that level in that court have the caliber of Basil Williams, so they won't be looking into that.
Sorry, Basil Williams alone, you know, there was a lawyer that brought this whole thing up, and they got to be.
Who is that? Who is that lawyer?
Somewhere.
A huge man, right? A huge man, right? Something like that.
A magician man in our parliament that may be gone across over there.
Okay.
So we don't know his magic we're dealing with.
So don't you think it's insulting the Guyanese people, poking the finger in the eye to say we can say anything we want, that is the PNC APNU, and you got to take it? Imagine they're trying to show that 33 is not bigger than 32. That's basically what they're saying.
But then again, if they want to go that way, they will have to change the mathematics from the Ministry of Education to teach from nursery school.
Well,
I mean, we learn more or less in our time, and 33 is more.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like in, let me go back a little bit with you. It's like in 1992, right? They brought up so many arguments about the list. They themselves, who were in control for many, many years, identified and were forced to accept that the voters list is flawed. Cherry said, let's clean it up, right? They said, yeah, we're going to do it. We said, even if you have to postpone the election, do you remember, were you around at that time and active and so on, when the elections were supposed to be held in December 1990? When they were held, 92. Do you know why? Do you recall why those 2 years? Because the PPP, as a responsible opposition, said, we have been criticizing this list. We'll give you a few more months. And they stretched it out. So in 92, we won. And immediately in recent years, we discovered that the current list is a bit flawed, but it was good enough to be used at the last local government elections. If it was good enough and the PNC, APNU, AFC, Ramjatan and company did not object, how were they suddenly objecting? You know why? They want an excuse to stretch their teeth in time in the government there more.
But I'm more concerned about the math because it's a very serious something where our children is concerned because they're learning one thing at this government school, and then you, the adults in authority, is trying to put something different down the children's throat.
Yes, that is why usually children are very sometimes say, Miwa do not with politics. Politics is corrupt. You understand? It's the politicians like those. There's a huge man who put forward that, and there's a man called Basil Williams. He was pushing that mathematics. But these people are clouding the mind, poisoning the mind of our young generation against taking leadership, against being advanced in civil society and in.
And you got to look at the appeal court judges. I mean, those are intelligent people, and I mean, everybody know half of 6 to 5 is what. That is my point.
Okay, well, thanks for bringing that point up so stringently, and try to encourage the young people not to become despondent with the leadership. This is an aberration. This is where they can do nothing more, so they're poking. As a matter of fact, they poked the Guyanese in the eyes even before that, right? Let me take a call online on the cell phone. Hello? Go right ahead. Could you speak up a wee bit more? Could you speak up a wee bit more?
Yeah, this government failed for 4 years. The government of 4 years and it failed. And Attorney General to resign when he come on Guyana. He used to have no purpose to start in Guyana.
You know something, what some young people told me? They're so ashamed of him that we shouldn't allow him to come back to Guyana.
Yeah, we don't need it anymore. And the Guyana police force is not taking in no Indians in the force. It's discriminating Indians that go for apply to go into the Guyana police force.
Well, I don't have any proof of that. If you do have, right, I noticed that in recent years when the PPP was in office, there tend to be a little more number of Indians in the force, right? So let's encourage that. I don't want to attack
the traffic department discriminating Indians a lot on the road.
All right. Well, I don't have. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't have evidence about that. Okay, so we need to probably get some proper evidence if it is so. I have not observed that. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Okay, we missed that call too. We missed another call on the. So you can get me on this cell phone, and I'll be here, of course, for about 2 hours after the program is off the screen. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bheri.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming through.
I listened to the cases that both the government.
Could you lower your volume a little bit? The operator is frantically waving. You're getting feedback.
Yeah, I told you. I listened to the case that both the government and the opposition put forward, and both team was well represented. Right? I don't know why people look into it at one lens. The opposition present a very good case, and the government present good case too, because I didn't know to make amendment to the Constitution in terms of GCOM, in terms of the voting and the selection of president, leader, the chairman of GCOM, right? They move from one thing to the next thing. I learned a lot of things that I don't know people talking about. Seeing things one side, they suppose see it as a victory for Guyana.
That's why we have such programs, and that's why we allow people with contrary opinions like yours to come through.
As I see, our constitution is very too much ambiguity in our constitution.
Okay.
And secondly, the
ambiguity was not expressed or explored by even the government when Charandas was voting in the past. For key things like, as I told you, against my hospital, right, which would have stopped a lot of people dying and having to go overseas, even ministers. That hospital was quashed by the same people, the same system. Why didn't you find it then? Now you're finding to wriggle out. You know, when you're up on lion or tiger back, it's hard to jump off. So they were saying they win by, this government won not by a seat, it won by 4,000 votes, allegedly. 4,000 votes is half a seat. And they were very bombastic. Bring it on, bring it on. And now that you brought it on, they're finding excuses that the PPP sees now.
Okay. What I'm saying, if the government win by 4,000 votes, a couple of years ago they wouldn't have been winning by 4,000 votes. It had to be something that the people of Guyana didn't like that the PPP was doing. You understand?
No.
Now, here we meet a point that we have to. You're looking to be re-elected. You understand? We need to clear up what we did the last time, move forward rather than you criticizing this government.
No. I'm not going to deny the great things the PPP did. And the point is, because we became complacent, because we were accustomed to winning, and even when they had rigging in that time against the PPP, it was not. We had bigger volumes. What did happen, and I'll tell you this, I want to talk to PPP supporters. We did many housing schemes. I can tell you this. Take Legwan, take Wickenham. People there, for example, at places like a village called the Ridge, 18 in one settlement got house lots in Tushan. They came across, but they did not transfer their voting rights. They thought, okay, we're going nice, we get you house lot, we're happy, regardless of ethnicity background. That is something we have to look at. You became complacent, and the PPP was holding big rallies, and that was fooling them, fooling certain levels of the leadership. So this time around, PPP supporters and PPP members, if you get a house lot, you can't vote there if you have transfer your vote. Let's take Glasgow and the in Borbies, East Bank Borbies. I was there to give the thank you just after the elections, although we lost. I met many people who did not have dye on their finger, did not have the ink. And when you ask them something, they moved into these new house lots and new schemes. Some of them might or might not have been supported with PPP, but they didn't transfer their voting rights from New Amsterdam, from Kanji, from quarantine. That's what we call complacent. And the party structures, and I can say this in front of anybody, including the party, have to be taken about. What the organizers, PPP organizers, paid like a teacher, given a motorcycle, given fuel, and that wasn't done. So we took it for granted and over this side of the river where Tushan is. People got house lots in Tushan, but they couldn't vote in Tushan. And who's going to go back? With the transportation there on election day? So those are things that we have to deal with. And I can say it. I know I'm in the leadership, right? And we got to address those things. The big rallies and the big jump up, that don't win elections. Elections are won when the vote is on the right list. So the 5 or 10 people I might be speaking to at a street corner or a bridgehead in Glasgow, when 4 out of 5 of them can show no ink. And why? They're eligible voters, but they came from the quarantine. They were legitimately given house lots. What about Tushan? Legitimately come from the islands of Wickenham or Legwan, but never transferred because they were accustomed to getting things easy. The PPP had brought such a good life. House lots, roads. Look at the road program that's going on now. That's PPP program. Look at the airport that is being now corrupted. The process is being corrupted and subverted by the PNC. You're going to get less jets coming in at the same time. You call it jet ports. You were supposed to get 8 to 10 under the PPP with the same money being spent. Now with the same money being spent, you're only getting 2 additionals. So we are right. We will continuously say the good things we did. As a matter of fact, that's part of our problem. We don't blow our trumpet enough. The hospital which Nagamutu knocked down, that would have been a great thing. And by now, not only would the Indians have come and run it for us, but the doctors that we trained in Cuba would have been trained by them to take over. And besides that, you would have already got a nursing school built there. So not only would you be having a teaching hospital in Lilindal, on the East Coast here, but you would be having a teaching and nursing school. Okay, so those are some of the things that we should think about and boast about. Our propaganda, our PR needed to be more aggressive. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bheri.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming through.
How are you, sir?
Trying. Good to hear from you.
I must congratulate the lawyers them for doing a well job at the CCJ. And I think whatever the outcome of this election here, we all must put it aside and move this country forward. We must abide by the rules when it comes. I think that is a fundamental right of all the people in this country here. That we have to abide with this rule of the Constitution of this country. Everybody should abide with it.
What do you think about a rule which says that 33 is bigger than 34? 32?
I was just coming to that.
Okay, go ahead.
It looked like our maths, the CXC maths in this year, children, we got to find another book to do maths. Because this 34 and 34, I don't know where this half and thing come from. It's logic speaking. The majority of us have a number supposed to be just one greater than the other one. So
Okay.
I don't see where this 34 comes.
But tell me something. If ordinary people like you and myself can do that, and even some students, pupils, are laughing at us, don't you think it's a shame that you have Basil Williams and a certain huge man, right, saying that 33 can probably be smaller than 32?
Look, man, let me tell you something. These chaps here are propagandists. I can tell you this. Right now, the Caribbean and the world is laughing at us.
But do you know how much it's costing us too?
Yes, our maths is distasteful in this country.
No, but I think it's beyond the maths now. The maths was just the little
small thing.
That was just the issue around which things kicked off.
Yes,
but look at the quality of persons we have in the cabinet, and not only that, the morality. They obviously know that the mathematics is incorrect, but they push it still. Why? To buy time at your cost, because they're going to CCJ. It's not their money spending. So like they did in 92. Do you remember 1990?
Yes, I remember 92.
Do you remember 1990?
I can remember part of that.
Could you tell the audience out there if I'm correct? 1990 we're supposed to be having elections.
Yes, 2 years to take for themselves. They buy time for 2 years.
Yeah, and we assisted by saying, okay, please clean up the list. Now they're coming back with the same stupidness. How that list that exists now, how could it have been used correctly without even the PNC, APNO, AFC complaining a few months ago at the local government elections where we cut their ass too, right? Now, if it has dead people on it, there's a way to do that. Before you get certified as being dead, a death certificate is issued. All of this process has to have 7 to 14 days after. All of that information is lodged at the office.
Yeah, where they can go to GR and do all those.
Yeah, at a special office called the Register of Deaths and Births and Deaths. So easy, and the PPP computerized the system. So here again, to PNC supporters, you're being poked in the eye, and years from now, your children will be laughing at you and saying, here, because of ethnic considerations and all kind of consideration, you did us bad. They need to come out. The PNC supporters and members should be coming out, should be making a lot of noise on the streets. Why are you embarrassing us like this? Why are you saying that 33 is smaller than 32?
No,
why are you bringing this jumbie mathematics?
I don't know. This chamber what we have here, I just tuned on today on that Channel 6. The same people on Channel 6 who were saying this man is fit and proper, they said this man is sick, he must resign right now. Why is that so now?
Okay, well, I'm here. I heard another thing while I was coming up at talking to the car parks, and every Saturday I go to the market at Luzikna at Monipo, right, and we sell papers there. People are saying we should probably tell Basil Williams, don't come back home. It's a shame. We didn't want to see you back.
I think he should have got dual citizenship and fly from that side and go away.
Okay, thanks for coming through. Okay, thank you. Okay, and my operator is showing that we need to leave. We need to get off of the program. It's almost 5 o'clock. We got 3 minutes until 5. Now, I'm reminding you, many people are now asking for the newspaper. This paper, you can talk to me or talk to the company or call the numbers you've seen on the screen, especially my cell number. And if you want, you can help us push it. This is not a newspaper. This is an information sheet. This is an organizer. This is an agitator. This is an informer. This is not a simple newspaper. Look at the headlines. The operator will pull them up. There's one with the CCJ. There's one with a foreign company calling on the High Court to have Minister Jordan, face jail time. That's not what slander thing is here in the newspaper, a legal newspaper. So if you are and you're interested in getting this copy, it can be dropped to you, not a single copy, but if you want to become vendors, and for example, you might have some youth in the area who wants to augment his political support and activity, and at the same time get a FREC. Right? I think you're giving $25 or $30 per paper being sold, and the rest goes to pay for the cost. Let's take a last call. Hello? Hello? We missed that call. Okay, so it's almost the 5 o'clock hour. I want to thank you for having such a good program. I want to thank especially the teams, the massive team, PPPC team, which is out in the fields now, especially in New Amsterdam, Vrijman Zurvin, Stanley Tung, being headed by May, one of our upcoming activists, based at the elections office in Freedom House in Georgetown, and Mr. Anand Prasad, who is one of the newest additions to the Central Committee of the People's Progressive Party, and he too is doing some wonderful work in New Amsterdam. I'm sorry I cannot be there with them, but they are there with about 50 young people under the guidance of Anand and May, and they're passing around this paper. So we would like you to let's take a last call. Hello?
Hello, there.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. I need y'all to get serious with this because a lot of swimming is going on. And
could you lower your volume? The operator's could you lower your volume? The operator's indicating he'll cut the call. It's making a big vibration sound.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think you understand. Y'all should come together and let this country come as one, because this country will never ever come on as one. All these two parties, two things: either you come together or you get rid of the two party and a fresh party come, or listen me, man.
I hear you.
Or I need, you understand me, that you will never ever get back this country for one. That you can't get back this.
All right, so he made his point a bit lumberously and sluggishly. He's saying that the two parties should come together. The PPPC is an alliance. The PPP is a party. The C component are not party members, and the last elections at the local government level, it was clear the PPP sent out official flyers and official instructions. As much as 50% of the list needed to be people who are not PPP card-bearing members. And if you check Jagdio's office now in Freedom House, you'll see how the mix is there, right? So we'll have to miss that call and I don't think I can take another call. So we'll take that call probably afterwards. So I want to thank you for being with us. I want to thank all of those people who have recognized that they can have the Mirror newspaper, and that it's such a wonderful, we can probably fade out to this program, thank you, with the Mirror front page on the screen. Bye-bye, see you next week. Dr. Ramsarran here.